Welcome, welcome, welcome. Hey guys, I am excited to be here. I know many of you guys are out celebrating tonight, so truly excited that you are with us. I am Melisa Alaba, the group practice owner, breakthrough coach, and I'm joined by LaTasha Billingsley, our marriage counselor.
Hey.
Hey, and she also helps premarital couples as they get ready to tie the knot. So excited. Tonight, we're going to be talking about dating and specifically dating after divorce. We get a lot of women who contact us who want to with us, and they are coming out of emotionally abusive relationships or either relationships with a narcissistic partner, and sometimes just things just didn't work out. But a lot of times when people come to counseling, it's because it was a lot of things impacted, and so they want to get into a healthy relationship or have already started a healthy relationship, and they're coming because they want to address issues that are popping up. Sounds about right, Latasha?
Yep, that sounds about right.
Absolutely. So here are some of the things that we've identified that when people are contacting us, these are the areas in what has been impacted for them. So often the emotional self has been impacted. So a lot of our clients haven't dealt with physical abuse, but a lot of emotional abuse, especially with a narcissistic partner. Spiritually impacted. And this was something that I went through when I was going through my divorce. Definitely hit me spiritually because I am a Christian, and having to make that decision of getting divorced, having gone through the years of praying and hoping and fasting and all the things that Christians do in order to make it work and hoping that it was going to work, and it not still not working. It was like it was spiritually hard, and it was me having to grapple with that and God. And then, of course, and this is why I focus so much on money trauma, it impacts you financially. When women go through divorce, we lose often 50% to 75% of household income. And so for a lot of women, their lifestyle changes. They go from living in a nice home to now living in an apartment. Just different things happen for them, and the lifestyle changes for their kids. So financially, they're impacted by this shift as well. You want to add anything to that, Latasha?
Just to kind of touch back on or piggyback on the piece that you said about like praying about it in your Christianity and fear. And so that's a big component of what keeps people in bad marriages, but also is a big concern for them when they start dating again, is like the fear that they'll mess up again, or the fear that they'll go into this situation and have a similar experience, and just feeling like a failure and not wanting to repeat that situation.
Absolutely. So, and a lot of times what this shows up as is a lack of confidence, right? Because you don't know, like you question yourself. You think back to this previous relationship. How did I get in it? What were the signs that I missed? So you question yourself then, and you question yourself in this new relationship. Will this person show up for me? Will, like, can I recognize when it's not going well? Am I in too deep to make a different choice? It also hits your self esteem, especially if you were married for a long period of time. I notice this a lot with clients that I'm working with. Clients who are typically were married 5 years or less, their self esteem is not hit as badly because they weren't in a relationship as long, and they felt, they usually feel pretty confident to bounce back really quickly. But when I'm dealing with clients who were married for 15 years, such as myself, 16 years, 20 years, and then this happens, it's a whole new world out here when it comes to dating. Like everything has changed. You've been with the same person for like a decade plus. It's like it really is like culture shock of how to do this, and this whole idea of taking your time, getting to know different people, having fun with it, all of it is totally new for you. And getting your footing with that oftentimes is overwhelming for a lot of folks, and that's a lot of times why they need reassurance or want to get some help and support in making sure they're not choosing the wrong person, especially when so much time has passed.
Right. And I think that to just kind of piggyback off what you said is kind of twofold. The first thing that I see with that is if you were married a shorter period of time or got married younger, you may consciously or subconsciously have the thought of like it's okay to start over, and it was more of like your starter marriage, like your first marriage, like, oh, we were only married for like 2 years, and no big deal, it's like my starter marriage, right? And so you don't really become like intertwined at that point, but like those 10, 15, 20 years, like that becomes your identity. You
Yes.
become like one with this person. And so having to step out of that is scary, because now not only do you have to date again, you have to establish a whole new identity and figure out like, oh my God, I was like 21. No, not in real life. This is
Right.
right.
But in real life, I was like 24. So
Right. Like I was 24 when I got married. Like I was, at a different stage in life, and life meant something different, and
yeah,
dating looked different, but I was a different person. And so now I'm a different person in my 40s, 50s than I was at 24. And what my standards were at 24 is not my standards at 40 or 50.
yeah, absolutely. And it's also the untwining of relationships. That's the other thing with longer span marriages is oftentimes there are kids, so the children involved, there are in-laws involved, there are friendships, like you had coupleships that you went out on dates with. So now as this newly single person, this divorced person, you now have to gain new friendships because the old people keep talking about the old person. So most people have to establish new friendships where they can not have all those triggers, and we'll talk about that in a moment. But you're also helping your kids, if kids were involved, heal through the situation and adapt to being into two different households. And again, like I said, you're now figuring out your finances, because something that you once did with someone else and shared responsibility, you now are doing that on your own and figuring out who you are in the workplace. Because I have a lot of folks that I work with who were bosses in the workplace, but yet when they got home, their spouses or whomever they with handled the finances. So it still was this money component that still needed to be grappled with or taken care of. And so they have to get confidence around those particular areas.
Yeah, I totally agree. And especially for, some women who may have stepped out of a career, to be like a stay at home mom because it was cheaper to have mom at home than work and, daycare. And now you have to transition back into having to work on top of that and trying to figure out your work identity, your dating identity, your regular identity, just trying to put yourself back together and what that looks like.
Absolutely. So one of the things that when folks are deciding to get back out here, like you said, figuring out your dating identity, asking yourself what you want now, we're even thinking about what type of marriage do we want, And so a lot of that has to do with your values, right? So, if you're a Christian, you're thinking about, I want a partnership that is complementarian versus egalitarian, right? So, and they're two different things. So the world, as they say in the Christian lingo, the world says egalitarian, I do my part, you do your part, we come together, we get to know each other. And then, of course, in our Christian stance, it's complementarian, meaning that if I'm really good at the money, then I'm looking at you to be really good at the family dynamics. So we complement each other, so that we can build together and grow together and things like that. So you establish that based on your values. Like based on your values, you're thinking about what it is that you desire. And again, like you said, as we age, those desires change. I know when in my younger years, like I was in my 20s, my biggest concern, besides the fact that he was handsome and tall, because that was on my list, he had to be tall, had to be handsome, but I also wanted somebody who was ambitious. Like ambition was really important to me because I'm super ambitious and things like that. But I wanted a provider. And it's interesting because 20 years later, it was like I really wanted somebody who made me laugh. I really wanted somebody who wanted to have fun.
Right. Yeah, and I was gonna piggyback off the piggyback is my word of the day for today.
Yeah.
We should put it on the bottom of the screen. Piggyback.
Piggyback.
um, but yeah, what your needs are changed. Like when you're young and in your reproductive age, right? You may be looking for a certain type of partner because you're looking for somebody, who may love children and can help you raise and rear children. But in your 50s or 60s, not to say you can't have kids in your 50s and 60s. I know I won't because my body's not built for that. Um, that's not a necessity anymore, right? Because you're saying I already had all my children, so I don't care if he like kids or not. Like what's important to me now is, can we get on this yacht and go to the south of France, right? And
Right.
so your outlook changes, and so your standards and what you desire in a partner changes, and that's okay. So don't let anybody tell you that you should want a certain thing in a partner coming out of your previous situation. um get what you want.
Absolutely. So let's talk about this healing piece. So that's the middle that we didn't talk about, right? So that's the piece where literally we want to be able to heal and create the life that we want at the same time. So oftentimes, and you can answer this too, LaTasha, oftentimes I'm asked, should I start dating first or do I need to be completely healed? And I say you can't be completely healed. Dating actually to me is a big part of the healing because a lot of times we don't understand what triggers we still have
Mm-hmm.
until we're in relationship with someone else. Now, in terms of intimacy, that's totally up to you. And those are things that you're going to need to establish for yourself, like how intimate do I become with someone, and at what point does that happen, and what does dating look like to me? And that's kind of why I said that, is because for some people dating really is, we're going to a movie and dinner and we're getting to know each other, and for some people it is sexually intimacy. But I always say you need to establish what your values are and what you desire head on, like before you start mixing it up, putting the profiles out there. Know what it is that you really do desire, and really be in a space. These are my things that I just feel like have to happen. Be in a space where you like and love yourself. Get comfortable with your body. If you have issues with your body and how you look now, 10 years later, 20 years later, yeah, you're older now. You're not the 24-year-old person. Those are things that you can still work out in therapy. I know that was something I worked out. I was like, he took all my youth. I mean, and a lot of women, I mean, they're mad as hell because it's like 20 years later. So it was like, look, I was slamming. If you had seen me at 24, and so now it's like, now you done took all my youth and this is over and I have to start over now. So getting comfortable with yourself and where you are, catching up to speed of this time is so important. Um, Learning how to spend time with yourself. I'm very much an introvert. Most people don't know that, but I really am. I'm very much an introvert. I can be extroverted when I need to. So I've always spent a lot of time with myself and enjoy reading, enjoy movies. Like I enjoy my own time. I had one of my healers that I work with. She said, "When I look at your chart and everything, Melissa, I could tell you are your own best friend." And I was like, "Girl, yes." That's how I knew she was my person. April, if you listen, that's how I knew you was my person. Because she's like, "You have fun with yourself." I do, but there are a lot of people who don't, who find it difficult to go to a movie by themselves, who find it difficult to go to a concert by themselves or go to a bookstore. And so they feel empty or alone when they're doing those activities. And so you have to get to a space where you feel good about you and where you are in life. So I always say complementing the dating really should be you working on those areas that you've always wanted to work on. Think of it as your time. Like you always wanted to learn a new language. You always wanted to work out, but you could never stick to it, do it because of your spouse or your person before. Maybe you wanted to learn something new, golf or whatever the case. I took up golf, so that's why I put that out there. My partner, my ex-husband played tennis, and I became a tennis player because He played tennis, and then after it was all over, I was like, I never even was a tennis person. I did it because he liked tennis, and what? So I started playing different sports to discover what my thing was, and I discovered it was golf. I've been playing golf for 7 years and absolutely love it. The next thing is triggers. Be aware of your triggers. So, and then I'll let LaTasha speak to this. But I know for so many who've been married for a long time, and again, if you had a narcissistic partner, which I did, um, you have these triggers or things that come up. And so anger spouts was big for me. I could go be from being very happy to being very emotional to straight out just being mad. So anger, like, and it could be anything in the environment, something that was said, something that reminded me of him, something that reminded me of something I didn't have because of him. Any of those things would cause like an anger trigger. For some people, it's depression. So a lot of our clients come in and they're like, look, I'm feeling depressed. I can't seem to shake this. I know what it's related to. I get depressed when he calls. He's talking to the kids. He's saying things about me. So depression. And then the other thing that I noted in my notes was trusting. In a marriage, especially when you've been married for quite a bit of time, it requires that you trust the other person. And in a divorce, and even when your partner dies, because we often have that too, where we have clients come in and they're grieving, they had a partner die. You learn things about your partner that you never knew, and it shakes your trust. Especially in divorce, you think that we're going to do this fairly, and then you find out this person got account over here, a house over there, a business over here, and they're hiding it from you, and all these things come up, or monies that you saved that was supposed to always be yours. Now they want the money. But trust is shaken. And so if you don't deal with those areas in any new relationship, they're going to pop up again. So those are the things that you definitely can tackle and work on prior to getting into a relationship. LaTasha, you have anything to add?
So just to add on, and a lot of times about triggers is we don't know they're a trigger until we bump into them. So you have to get out there and explore, and that's why it's important if you feel like you're ready to get back out there and date, and even if you don't feel like you're 100% ready, even at like 50%, just get out there and get your feet wet, right? It's to kind of bump into things and see how you react to it, and not feel like you have to commit to things. My favorite thing to tell people is you can undo every decision in life. Everything that you do can be undone. There's no decision that you make that has to be permanent. Now there may be some consequences that go along with it, but it's not permanent, right? Um, and so don't feel like if you start dating, then now you have to commit to dating. You can pull back. Don't think that, okay, I was celibate and I decided not to be celibate. Now I can't. No, you can always pull back. You can always go back and not have to be 100% committed to whatever thing that you committed yourself to once you get there and feel like it's not right or it doesn't fit you or it's not serving you.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the other thing that really comes up for a lot of our clients that come to us is once they start dating, they often run into, especially like if you've been in an abusive relationship, you run into this idea of meeting someone who is similar. That happens oftentimes. You because you still have that in your energy field, you meet somebody who throws off that same type of energy, and at first it could be very magnetic, and then you see that, oh, this is not really healthy, but you notice triggers. So I always say, one thing I love to teach my clients is to understand their personality style and their attachment, right? So who are you as a person, right? And how comfortable you are with yourself and your confidence level. But then what's your attachment style? Are you a secure person? Oftentimes, if you were in an emotionally abusive relationship or in a relationship with the narcissistic person, you may have been secure at first, but then because of the relationship and their back and forth, you now show up as more anxious, meaning that if they don't call right away, and this is what we mean by triggers, You meet somebody, things seem to be going okay, and then they don't call, and you're like, oh my God, oh my God. Like, like 24 hours later, it's like, what did I do? This is this, because again, a part of you doesn't trust yourself, doesn't trust if this is working. Is this person going to keep their word? All these questions are in the air. So that's a good sign that I need to get more grounded. That's a good sign that I need to know for sure what I want in my partner, so that when I see certain things, I just say, okay, he's not for me, or that person is. But it's a good sign that healing still needs to take place. If you find that you're avoidant, like, so a person is trying to make dates and you like literally ignore the call, you see the call, but you're like, nah. Um, Again, that's another sign that you're not really ready yet, or it's a piece of you that's been held back by certain things. And again, that might be a good place to want to have conversation, want to talk that through, want to just kind of get on the same page. And I feel like what LaTasha said was so good. It's no rush for this. I don't care how old you are. Like she said, 50, 67. I was like, Lord, I'm 46. Shoot, I'm about to be 50. Like I can't even, I'm like, I'm getting close to that number. But it's no rush. There are great people at any and every age. A lot of people desire companionship for fun, for for whatever it is. But there are a lot of people who enjoy their friendships, enjoy their besties, enjoy their children at this age. For me, I have grandchildren, enjoy their grandchildren. And so this is something that complements their life. This is not something that they have to have, right? So kind of really pay attention to that. Like if you have to have a man, that in itself speaks volumes as to like what's going on with you, right? So those are things that you want to check on.
Right. And determine what your kind of goal in dating is, right? Because everybody, though they're ready to date after divorce, they may not want to get remarried, and they just want to
Right.
get out here, and they've been in a sexless marriage for years, and they just want to get some. And if that's you, do you, and don't feel like you have to commit yourself or be in a relationship if that's not what you're looking for. If you're just out here looking to have fun, keep it light.
Yeah. And if you are a person that is one that's a Christian and that's your spiritual walk, and you're looking for someone who desires to be celibate, and intimacy is something that you say for marriage, that's okay too. Look, there are people at every age doing it different ways, and you get to choose your path. You don't have to be pressured to do what society says you need to do, right? You get to figure it out, what it is, what would I like to do, and what would this look like for me. I
Right.
have young people who come to me and they want to be celibate after having sex for years, and they're like, nope, I have given my life over to Christ. I want to do it this way. And I have people I work with right now who have given their life over to Christ, and then after the divorce, wow, I love all my clients. I be like, look,
They're liberated. They're
right. Like, we
liberated.
don't have to look. I have one client. I said, okay, Jesus, because y'all know I'm a Christian lady. I am, but I love my clients. I don't judge. I tell them have fun, and when you come back, God is gonna be here. He's gonna be here. Um,
Yes.
like,
God loves you through your liberation.
he loves you through your liberation. And sometimes people are so hurt. Honestly, sometimes people are so hurt. It's like out of that hurt and out of that distress, they're just, out here just living. But a lot of times they come back, they come back to center and say, that's not really what I value. This is the way I want to go. So we're here to support you however it is that you need to go and help you figure it out. But I feel like the most important thing is the healing. Because once that healing takes place and you really like all of these emotions are no longer up and down in the air and you get to this equilibrium, right? We call it emotional regulation. And you're feeling good. And I like to also call it grounded. Like you feel like the wind is not taking you out and every day is not something different, but you're literally just feeling good and peaceful and sound in your own environment. You can make a new choice. You can make different decisions. And guess what? You draw amazing people to you. There is a myth that there aren't healthy Black men. And I really said that's a myth because We meet a lot of them, and I know you meet a lot of them in couples counseling.
I do.
Yeah, a lot of them that want to save their marriage, want to be in relationship, and so that's like our honor to be able to do that. So I know this was short, you guys, but it's Valentine's. We wanted to make sure you can get out there with your sweethearts and enjoy the rest of the evening. Thank you for allowing us to share with you. Again, check us out, visionworkscoaching.com. We are here in Atlanta. We have some amazing coaches and therapists. LaTasha Billingsley is our marriage counselor. We also have Zulima, who recently joined us as a marriage counselor. And of course, me and Tara and Stephanie, we work with women who are, have recently divorced and are looking to get into healthy relationships. So check us out, and we are here for you. All right. Good night, guys. Thank you.
Bye.